Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals, and here today I've got game 1 of a best of 3. Now, I haven't done some best of 3s for a while, so I'm really excited to be in on this. It's from the TvZ UK Masters, and I'm just going to get straight to this and introduce the two players. So, in the top right position, we have the red Zerg. From Team Liquid, it is TLO. And his opponent, down in the lower left, from Team Western Wolves, it is Sting. And he is the blue Terran player, which I can't remember if I mentioned. But yes, game 1 of a best of 3 on Daybreak, Heart of the Swarm, should be epically good. Met both of these two guys at the TvZ UK Masters when I was casting there. And I'm not going to give any spoilers of how they did or anything like that. I'm just going to cast these best of 3s as if they were standalone events. Because ultimately I think that a lot of people on my channel might want to watch the story, find out about the brackets themselves, etc, etc. So this is just to look at the play as well the series takes part, because there's some really cool games in here. Now, as we can see, we've got the supply depot just coming down here for Sting, so nothing too unorthodox at the moment. I know Sting does like using biomine against quite effectively, and it's something that Snoot can deal with very effectively. I know he's pretty much a master of that, I think it's fair to say, with doing lots of like Overlord run-ins and generally just making sure the mines don't deal any damage. So it'll be interesting to see if his teammate TLO has picked up any of those cool tricks. TLO also has some really funky builds. I'm not sure if he's going to try and do any of those. He can do things like his very, very unusual 2-base Nidus Swarm Host play. That's basically where he puts a Nidus network like here, chucks out a whole ton of Swarm Hosts and Queens, spreads creep, puts, well, obviously the Swarm Host down, all off to the base, and just generally tries to break the front door down with Brute Force and Locusts. So that's always good. Now, because these two are just going very standard, as you can see, a Command Center first as part of the wall off and a hatch first out of TLO, I'm just going to use this opportunity to say thank you so much to everyone. I've seen loads of a big increase in people subscribing to my channel, and the number of likes and comments and things, and that's absolutely great. It's brilliant to see that, and I hope you've all seen that I reply to as many comments as I can, or at least ones that ask me anything, so that's really, really brilliant. Please, if you aren't someone who subscribes to me, I get new StarCraft 2 content out every single day of the week, so do get that little subscribe button a nice little hit, and yeah, come and check it out, because that would be swish. And of course, like the video and leave a comment, because that's always cool. Now, as we can see, Sting actually going, well, he went for the barracks, then into a very quick gas. This is something you don't often see. Usually, you get a double gas out a bit later, but Sting, he's wanting to potentially go for some Reapers, potentially get a reactor or tech lab down very, very early on, maybe even just get a very quick factory. So I'm keeping an eye out to see when he gets that second gas, if he gets that second gas, because that's obviously going to be a really big tell. TLO shouldn't take his second or even his first gas for quite a while yet. He might get one up in a little bit once now he's saturated his main, just in order to get out Zergling speed, to give him a bit more map control, a bit more map awareness, and just generally good times. But as we can see, Sting, he's coming forward with this SCV, going to get the first scout out. The Zergling going to the watchtower, so will spot that SCV and can deny the scout. Good little bit of micro coming down here from TLO, just trying to make sure that he stays in front of that SCV, but is not going to manage to do so, and that means that the SCV is going to be able to come up. Sting is getting behind his factory, but as you can see, this SCV is going to get stopped, doesn't get a count on the gas. That's a really, really important thing that obviously we're hoping that, well, obviously Sting was hoping to find out. He never saw any of the gas, so he really is a bit untoward. He doesn't really know what's going on here completely. Meanwhile, TLO, if we take a look at his vision on what's going on here, well, he's not got too much vision. He doesn't really know everything that's happening. He can't see too much else, so ultimately he doesn't need to know that much. Does he even know that this was down here? So he knows it was Command Center first, which is fine, and therefore he can really look to take his third base fairly quickly, and he wants to be taking in about the next minute if he's going to. But he's gone up to 2 gas, which is quite interesting. So this 2 gas is going to allow him to get a bit more tech heavy. He can get speed out very quickly if he wants it, or start off by getting the lair very fast, and both of those are viable options. Sting, a very defensive placement on this bunker. Lots of Terrans will put it nearer the front, but Sting wants to cover his edges. He's also getting down the supply depot to further reduce the surface area. TLO getting up lair very early on, as well as the extractor. So this third extractor just really indicates that he could be going for some kind of large roach push. off of 2 bases, and indeed there comes down the Roach Warren as well. So this is really starting to look like something Sting needs to identify, needs to realise, actually, I've got to do something in order to defend this, because Hellions alone are not going to have too much fun against this sort of composition. Heavy Roach is just going to really wreck through it. But Sting, he's got up his 3rd command centre really early on, so this is just going to allow him to pump a lot of SCVs, get a 3rd mule out very quickly, be able to afford to use a couple more scans just to get a great read on what TLO's doing. And as we can see at the moment, TLO just sees these 2 Hellions, and he might be thinking, okay, 2 Hellions, that's fine, is there any more following this up? But no. What's following it up is Widow Mines. It's something that Sting, as I mentioned at the start of this cast, absolutely loves going for, and it's really, really very effective. So that's always a cool thing to look out for. The Spine Cooler also coming down here at the moment. We've got Zergling Speed just getting started, so TLO desperately wants to make sure that these Hellions and potential follow-up Hellions don't do anything. But as we can see, the Ling just running around, doesn't see that these 2 Widow Mines are here. They're just happily chilling, making sure any Zergling run-bys get shut down pretty effective. And as you can see, they're both within range of this bunker, which means that if the bunker got surrounded, it would take out all of the Lings there. But TLO, he's getting 6 Roaches out now. Roach Speed is also on its way. Just pumping a tremendous amount of units at the moment. And if we look at Sting's vision, he can't actually see anything. He doesn't know the layer's down. He doesn't know the Roaches are down. He really is very struggling, or very much struggling for information and solidly what's going on. But now the Hellions pushing down to the 3rd. When he sees that there is no 3rd base taken, this is already a very, very big giveaway. And now spotting those Roaches as well. This is just screaming to Sting, okay, I need to pull back. I need to make sure I'm in a very defensive position. Immediately 2 more bunkers getting thrown down. And this is the exact reaction he wanted, this, because if Sting can hold this off, he knows economically he's in a great position just due to having this 3rd orbital command. So if you're ahead economically and you're a bit behind or about equal on tech, then obviously your standing army is going to be a bit lower. So that is what really Sting has to counteract for now, or counterbalance for, by getting out these additional bunkers. But the Roaches are getting very close indeed. The Hellions are trying to buy a bit more time. We see that very nearly the bunkers are out, but there's not really very many Marines on the field either, so they're going to have a bit of a fun time. But we do see the Widow Mines are now triggering. But the Overseer takes a lot of the hits, but I think Sting has done enough now. He's repairing up that bunker. He's got the Marines in the front one. He's got another one spare. He's also putting a bunker on the high ground, so really feeling like he's got to defend this. And as we can see, just more Roaches, more Lings are getting flooded behind this. Marauder in one of those bunkers will now get taken out. That Marauder was oh so important for the DPS against the Roaches. SCVs being pulled, just trying to stop these Roaches getting out of range of the bunker. But yet more units flooding across. Sting is looking to be in a very tough spot at the moment, and TLO just doing a great amount of damage here. He's able to, well, TLO just sending forward those Overlords, just soaking up some of the damage, but does supply block himself. But that doesn't really matter at this stage, because he is just streaming units across the map. The SCV's desperate, trying their best to repair off this bunker, and doing a good job of it at the moment. Some creep getting generated as well now, and all in all, TLO, he is just going for maximum damage. He's focusing still, though, down on this bunker, as opposed to trying to pick up SCVs. But now with the Lings coming in, those SCVs getting taken out, and Sting, he's got no sign of a tank being done or anything like that that could really, really help him. A Widow Mine detonation does go off, but as we're seeing so many SCVs going down, a bunker on the high ground is being quite helpful. TLO spreading creep even, just making sure that he really does not allow this natural base to get back down anytime soon. So, let's take a look at the all-important workers lost 12, and TLO, he's killed 35 workers. He's now actually ahead by 11, and is taking his 3rd base behind this. This is precisely what he needed to do. He put on a lot of aggression that Sting ultimately wasn't expecting, and is now back to just a 1 base situation. His Widow Mines are reactivated, but just look at this, creep spread even coming down. TLO may even try and expand the creep over just past the Widow Mine in order to try and prevent this base coming out. But ultimately, this creep spread, the reason it's so helpful is because it just means that these Roaches move oh so much quicker, and that in itself is very, very frustrating to deal with. But a couple of units moving forward, TLO tries to jump forward, but sees that there's a tank shot comes off and does not want to get shelled from that. It will take too much damage for very little gains. Meanwhile, a Banelingness is also coming down behind. There's still no 4th gas as of yet, but TLO does now have the 1-1 upgrades on their way. He's pulling back. He knows that economically he did a huge amount of damage to Sting. The only thing he doesn't actually know is that... Oh no, he does. He did see that 3rd command, orbital command. So that is really important for TLO there, because suddenly now he is aware that there is a lot of mules going to be coming out. Some Overlords just flying over then, but there is no drop tech, so we don't have to worry too much about those. Baning Nest is nearly complete, and really now it's up to TLO to transition out of this very heavy Roach Ling play. And the best way, and what he seems to be doing by the moment, is going in for something like Ling Bling Muta, which is oh so effective. But Sting, he wants to counter aggression. He's flying in this medevac now, and ultimately he just wants to get some good shots off. But with so many Roaches and so many Zerglings on the field, he's going to really struggle to deal with this. So, or not struggle to deal with it. Sting won't do much damage here. The Roaches just really crunching through this. And straight away Sting picks up, he falls back, he's coming down to the natural base, which is actually quite undefended, so a couple of drones will go down here. The infestation pit also scouted out. That could be both for a quick hive tech, it could be for some infestors, it could be for swarm hosts, but most likely just going to be for quick hive, and also the potential for getting down ultras, just due to the fact that we do see the 1-1 upgrades coming down, in which case infestors would be very effective. So TLO is looking quite comfortable in terms of the worker count, 55 to 36. The third base can't go down at the moment though for Sting, because there are just creep tumors everywhere. TLO spreading creep in his opponent's base like mad, gonna force so many scans if he wants to stop this. There is just an absolutely crazy number of creep tumors here that he should be able to do with one more scan, but still very, very frustrating. And TLO actually currently spreading creep backwards towards his own base, because you know that's pretty standard, right? And well, all in all, hive tech coming down, medevac desperately trying to come in, 3 brave Marines jumping out of that. 1 will not make the return trip, and that is just all very, very stressful. More spore creep tumors are getting taken out, but just look at how much creeps here. This is going to take a long time to recede, and in itself that is going to delay this base even further. TLO taking his 4th, knowing that Sting is trying to take his 3rd, so everything really going in TLO's favour. He's getting his hive up just as I thought he would, and all in all, with 12 workers advantage, it may not seem like a much, but with that 3rd base, the income really favouring TLO here. So that is precisely what he's going to be wanting to happen. So, with some more Marines getting unloaded, the infestation pit is obviously going to be the target, but can he get it in time? The rotated Zerglings are back quite a long way. The Queen takes some damage, but a good transfuse goes down there. TLO, you are on form at the moment, making sure that that infestation pit stays up. He isn't researching pathogen glands or anything like that, but if you are going to go ultras, generally speaking, it is a good idea to get down those infestors just to get some good fungal growth on the infantry, allowing your ultras to really close down the difference. But TLO now, he is just making sure that these drops do not do anything successful. We do have the Ultralisk Cavern now in construction, the 4th base nearly complete, the 3rd still has not landed for Sting. This has been delayed for oh so long. The main base pretty much completely mined out, and there's my BattleNet bugging out, telling me Baby Night is online, because even though I'm set to busy, it doesn't seem to want to let me stay that way. Now, all in all, this is just all about now this push for Sting. He's got to deal with some very significant damage here, because if he doesn't have the economy behind this to keep up with TLO. TLO also with the Ultralisk Cavern nearly complete, with pathogen glands coming out, he's going to have a great late game competition. The Banelings rolling straight in, trying to do some good damage. They do get some great connections with the Marines, and TLO just pushing through this. The Lings able to completely decimate those tanks. The Banelings destroying the Marines, and now that push has lost all force behind it. Just a handful of Marines and medevacs remaining, which will just not be able to push through a lot of Banelings. Ultras are also in production. We've got the +3 ground weapons, +3 ground carapace probably starting soon. There we go. And between all of this, ultimately TLO is going to be very, very far ahead. He's gone up to the 76 drone mark. He's mining off the 4 bases. A drop trying to come down, but TLO just keeping a handful of units at every base that could be dropped, or spore crawlers, and this is just allowing him to make sure that he doesn't take any losses. Overall, Sting's only managed to kill 7 drones this entire game. That is incredibly beneficial for a Zerg player, but as we're seeing now, this drop having slightly bit more effectiveness at the 3rd base, just due to the fact that there's nothing that can actually attack the Marines. So as long as the medevac's out of range of those spore crawlers, you can just pick away at drones quite happily. Meanwhile, another drop coming down at the natural, so this is a multi-pronged drop. Banelings coming in to shut that down, Ultralists shutting down the other drop, but the main is still a bit exposed. There's a few units coming back to deal with it, but of course with nothing to shoot at the medevac, it's going to be very difficult to take that out. Meanwhile, we've got some Lings pushing forward. Small engagements could be coming around everywhere now, so this is where my multitasking as an observer is really put to the max. But yeah, this is still looking very much in TLO's favour. Only the 5th gas getting taken now by Sting, so that's a very late gas, but ultimately TLO, and what I'm really noticing for TLO is that he's got that tier 3 tech down. Once he's got 3-3, he's going to be good. Chitinous plating should be down, or should be done. So yep, it is complete. I thought I saw it going down. And did I? Oh no, Madals, you noob. Madals, you noob. You hit the back button when you tried to hit G for upgrades. That is the sort of misclick which would lose someone a game. Not that I ever misclick in games, because when I'm playing, I am 100% focused. But yes, as we see, Widow Mines just kind of dotted around, making sure that any Lings that decide to slow their way through could get taken out. Of course, Zerglings, if they run with speed upgrade, if they run straight past Widow Mines, it can't trigger, because the trigger distance, or the trigger time on a mine is slower than the speed it takes for a Zergling to get out of range. Useful fact for you. So that's why you should always put them on where there's a bend. it works that way quite well, as indeed. So this is something that obviously TLO is aware of, and well, TLO taking his 5th base now. He's staying a base up on his opponent. Sting is only at 140 supply. TLO being very passive at the moment, just waiting for these infestors to come out, desperate to have a good army, good fungal growths, a lot of ultralisks, and ultimately the 3/3 upgrades as well. In terms of upgrades for Sting, he's got 2/2 complete, but not much else. We don't mind triggering on an ultralisk there, and to be honest, that's second to, say, maybe a Baneling. That's really what she wants those mines to go off on. But these ultras getting baited very far forward into some tanks. No ultras, you do not want to go alone. It's dangerous out there. So pulling back, just making sure that he's looking okay. We've got some more units just streaming across. The first infestors really starting to hit the field, which is really nice. Also, a good amount of creep generation by Overlords, which is something that TLO does very effectively, and also gives him a lot of creep spread across the map. Now, these Ultras still trying to get a little bit of damage done to them. Sting desperate to try and force them back, but things looking really quite difficult. Sting gaining a bit more ground, but look at this, TLO with a great attack arc. He's running in from a couple of different angles, trying to get the surround with the Ultras. Ultras coming from the other side as well, but TLO just doesn't quite have this engagement yet. Moving back, that siege line, oh so long for Sting. Such a great position for all of those, just making sure that he can deal maximum damage as quickly as he can. So this is something, obviously, that Sting is very well versed in dealing with. He's coming back against the odds, but a push coming in towards the 3rd base. The thing I'd love to be seeing is Sting do some drop to play as well, keeping that going while, obviously, TLO's forward. TLO pushing into the tank line now, though, gets a good Baneling hit, and of course a lot of the army for Sting has been pulled back in order to try and defend this 3rd base, but that's allowing some of these tanks to go down. The tanks are re-sieged in the middle, though. Marauders doing nice damage against those ultralisks, so this is all coming together nicely. The Spire is about 3/4 done. A tech switch into Broodlords wouldn't be too bad at this late stage of the game, but obviously this 3rd base is where all of the action comes down. But TLO, he's killed 30 workers now. He's not going to allow this middle base to come out. Sting only at 45 SUVs to 69 drones, so TLO's economy is still looking far, far better. The bank looking better. A couple more good hits went down, a couple more fungal growths to push, potentially going into 3rd, but just stopping short with only a couple of Zerglings. The tank's desperate, trying to stop some of this. TLO generating more creep at this 4th base, denying it from being taken, so not even mules can riskily be placed down. TLO also taking a 6th base in this northern position, so exactly what he wanted to be doing. Great play though by Sting, poking in, trying to get a couple of shots off on these Ultras, doing as much as possible, but as we're seeing now, the Ultras just om-nomming their way through. One does die, and when they die with the new hot physics engine, it looks oh so painful. Half their brains fall out, but yeah, this is really looking tough now with these Ultras om-nomming their way through this 3rd base. The infantry force back, that allows TLO a bit of an advantage on a different front. He's making sure that he keeps his economy looking very solid. The Greater Spire is a 1/4 complete. He's got the 3/3 upgrades, he's got chitinous plating, everything coming together just as he'd want. The Lynx getting a couple of good takedowns on these tanks, and Sting now realizes with that little move out, he had to take it, just trying to get that center base, that he cannot win this game. So GG, game 1 goes to TLO. So like this video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and then I'll see you over at game 2 any second. Be right back.